80 years is a lofty time to look back in time and ponder over one's lifetime. How has one used his or her time in life? This is often the question. It is a vantage position, an almost godly one. For many people, the trail below looks very commonplace. An ordinary record of hard work and raising family. For Uganda's Kefa Sempangi, it is a record of distinguished public service as a teacher, priest, social worker, and political leader. However, Kefa Sempangi's name is synonymous with street children. For close to 50 years, he has worked to pick children off Ugandan streets to provide them with a much-needed home and an education, an invaluable form of public service. At 80, they call him Daddy, and their children know him as their granddad. He recalls all the incidents about his first encounter with all these children, some of whose life stories are hair-raising.
The work has started in 1971 as a lecturer at the university. And I was using part of my salary. I started a home at Kasubi. And by 1973, we had about 53 children in that home. But from Chibuye, a man who was working in Amini's cabinet, his name was Okero, was in the service. At the end of the service, he said, "Oh, you are a good preacher. Why don't you come and preach to my family?" So I said, "Where do you live? You know my Korolo? You know the American embassy? The second house, you know this house of Rimba Zake?" He had been a minister of education. "I'm not very far from that home. Why don't you come?" So we had a timetable, we agreed. I asked Jole Joki Wanuka to accompany me because I was not a politician. And this man was higher up in government. So Jorejo accepted. The man had told us to be at his place at 4. So with Jorejo, we drove to Korolo and came to this house, and the door was half open. So we knocked, and Jorejo said, "Why don't you go in?" So we entered. There was nobody. And Jorejo started quarreling, said, "Uneducated person, above all, a man very high up in government, cannot keep time? He told you 4. Now it is 4. Nobody in the house?" I'm really surprised. And Jorejo was a big man, very vocal. And so I said to him, "Why do you quarrel? There was nobody you were quarreling with." So we're about maybe 20 minutes, and Jorejo said, "Why don't you go? Leave this home." As we are getting to the door, there was an entrance to the rooms. Came a boy, a little bit tall, and I noticed there was some kind of blood on his pants. So Jorejo asked the boy, "Where are your parents? Why your father told us to come here at 4. So I said to Jorejo, "Please don't quarrel with the boy, because he's not the one who invited us." And so this man pointed to the rooms. When we looked in the rooms, there was only blood on the floor. Blood, pieces of the tongue, pieces of ears, pieces whatever. But all the bodies had been taken. And this man survived, this woman child survived by being under the bed. So with this boy, I took the boy at Kasubi, where I had the orphanage, and he became the number 53. So we called him Okero. By the way, the boy was speechless almost for 3 days. When he gained his speech, he told us the story how the parents were killed.
Such terrifying stories stoke Kefa's work. Their genesis is traced back to the history of independent Uganda in 1966. That year saw a violent political fallout between the country's executive prime minister, Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, and the titular president, Kabaka Edward Mutesa. In spite of Mutesa's weak position as a non-executive head of state, he wielded enormous power in Buganda as the Kabaka, king of the largest single ethnic entity in Uganda. Kampala, the seat of government, was found in the center of Mutesa's kingdom. Obote, the executive prime minister, was disadvantaged by his ethnic historical origins, while Mutesa's people, the Baganda, supported their king to the hilt in their political disagreement. Obote, using his powers as executive prime minister, ordered Colonel Idi Amin, who was the chief of staff of Uganda's army, to attack the Kabaka's palace. After a night-long resistance put up by the palace guards and the Baganda loyalists, Mutesa was bombed out of the palace. He fled into exile in the United Kingdom. 5 years later, Obote himself was overthrown in a military coup led by Idi Amin, a man he had promoted to the rank of Major General after the successful attack on Mutesa's palace. 8 years later, General Idi Amin himself fled into exile to Libya at the heels of an invading Uganda Exile army backed by the Tanzanian army. This military-style method of acquiring power was to become the model for change of the government in Uganda, with violence and destruction as its byproduct. The family as a primary unit of state was disrupted as parents were killed and fled into exile to escape the killings. A new orphan generation was born. The new troubled African state did not have a solution to this problem. Uganda, like many African countries, relied and prided itself on the traditional extended family system for its social security. This system had, however, been scattered into confusion by the violence of the new state. Nevertheless, individuals used the extended family system's time-tested mechanism to manage the problem of the new orphan generation. That's how Kefa adopted orphaned Okello to his own peril.
Malele and others, this was Min's main assassin. They discovered that a boy left us. I don't know how they got the information, that some people went to Okello's house and picked up a boy, and they didn't know where the boy was. That a boy had taken from that very home where they killed the people and was staying in a children's home at Kasubi. So Malera and Malera organized to have me killed. He got about 3 Land Rovers with soldiers, well armed. When at that time I was teaching at Makere, staying in those apartments.
Kefa was tipped off and he fled into neighboring Kenya, finally ending up in exile in the USA. Okello joined him there, and again fate was to change the young orphan's destiny in life.
Okello went with other children to America. There were 6 boys on a farm, and a cow on this farm, the cow knocked his throat. And another boy helped Okello to go to court and was compensated, I think, about 2 million, 2 million American dollars. And he helped his friends, so they got married, moved to California. He's now a very, very rich fellow.
Kefa Sempangi bounced into the public arena when he, together with other exiled Ugandans, arrived in the country after the overthrow of General Idi Amin, a man who was responsible for the rendering of many of these babies fatherless motherless, and homeless. As an assistant minister in the Uganda National Liberation Government that took power upon Amin's exit, he was given the docket of rehabilitation. A tough job for a war-torn country, but he was no rookie in rehabilitation matters. He had himself begun philanthropy almost 2 decades back while teaching at Uganda's prestigious Makerere University. Above all, Kefa Sempangi himself grew up in a situation of want, and he knew what it felt like to be needy.
Banga. There was no school. There was no hospital. No shops, no nothing really. But the only advantage is that we are very near the lake, and we used to collect the water from the Lake Victoria. So a friend or somebody came to Banga. First was an evangelist from Rwanda. He was a Munyarwanda, and he put up a thatched shelter for a church. In less than 4 months, the termites had eaten up this church. But this evangelist had left a Bible with my mother. Now, my mother never went to school, but she wanted someone to read the Bible to her. So her friend proposed to her, because she was from Chiola, near Nantura, and they were friends. So we said, why don't you take your son to my father's place in Nantura, because there's a school nearby. So we walked all the way. This is 1951. We walked all the way from Banga to Nantura. And my mother said to me, I'm leaving you here to go to school. You never come back to me before you know how to read.
Kefa retired from public service, having worked as an assistant minister, government chief whip, and member of parliament. But even in retirement, Kefa responded to the needs of his constituency. In a rare move among Uganda's political elite, he donated a square mile of his land to squatters resident on that land so that they would have legal security of occupancy. He did this at a time when many landlords were evicting tenants on their land all over.
Okumanya tuli banaku etulina nsimbi sobola kubeera ntwegula noteera ettaka eryo n'ofuuka taata waffe tokomye ku ekyo n'ogamba nti namataala nabawa kyembawadde n'ekisinga obukulu kwe kwongera okubakwatako abaana be basobole okukola ki okubeera nti bayambibwa kubabasinga wano abakuze mu myaka twakoma mu kibiina kya 6 abalala kya 7 tweyongerayo kugenda wala n'obusobozi bwennyini obuweerera abaana baffe okubatuusa mu maaso tutuuka wakati awo ne tukola ki ne tulemererwa. Siina bingi byakwogera nnyo kuba bwe njagala okwogera ennyo mpulira nga n'amaziga gagala kukola ki
nyala Yesu Kristo liwanikibwa waggulu babanika busabe gwogwo.
He rededicated himself to full-time service to Jesus, something he had innocently declared himself to do when a child of 12 years under a caretaker family.
I was not there that night. But my hostess, the wife of Kasule, her daughter said to me after dinner, that's around 6, because there was no electricity. So we used to have our dinner around 6 before it is dark. And we went around the house, and there was a shrine behind the main house. So the daughter of my hostess said, we go so that you get introduced to the elders of this family. We entered this shrine, and my hostess was seated on live coals. And after being introduced, she said to me in a very deep voice like of a man, he said, well, you are most welcome here, and from today, you'll be keeping fire in this fireplace. Small as I was, I stood and said to the lady that my mother has brought me here to read the Bible.
God blessed young Kefa along the way. A clergyman paid his school dues in his primary 3. He was picked to join an elite Kampala school irrespective of his rural disadvantages. From Makerere College School, he joined the prestigious Makerere University College. To the likes of Kefa from remote rural backgrounds, the university was a paradise. The students' tuition was free, complete with pocket money, and the students were fed and housed in hotel-grade accommodation. This luxury did not spoil Kefa, but rather kindled his creative and leadership potential. He graduated with a first class in 1966. He shares some exciting experiences from Makerere University.
When I was at Makerere, I was a leader in the college, and so we had to have a party in the main hall. And as artists, we made hats for every person coming to dance. Had to have a hat. So we asked ourselves, who would be the guest of honor? And we could only think of Idi Amin, because he was the head of the armed forces. And as you know, those days, soldiers used to have hats. So when he invited Idi Amin, he was so excited, and he was very pleased to see me, because he said, oh, you educated people? You can think of us, soldiers? And he invited me and my executive to Mbuya, and showed us films about the Nyanyas, and he gave us a big dinner. And then he said, you fellow, talking to me, why don't you go to Sandhurst? I have chosen you, I'm choosing you now, I'm taking you to Sandhurst. Can you also get me some fellows from the university to go and study to become doctors for the army? Oh, when I heard the word going to England, Sandhurst, I was very excited. But when I told my professor at Makerere, Professor Cecil Todd, who was head of that department, he said to me, oh, Kefa, you are very good in English, and you do well in history. Why don't you go to the university where I attended in England and study art, and come back and take over my place, because it was actually old enough. Oh, so when I heard from a white man telling me to go and study and take up his place, I gave up the idea of going to Sandhurst. So 1967, on a Uganda scholarship, and a number of other people were taken to Nsamizi to take lessons how to behave in England, and they taught us a few things: how to use spoons and forks, how you sit on a table, how you had to learn all the table manners, how to wear, how to walk, and so on. So, 1967, we are off to London, Royal College of Art, for 3 years. After that time, when I qualified, a professor, I had a painting in the hall where I was staying, depicting the figures of creation, or the theme of creation. So I painted a panel on top of the ceiling, on top of the wall. It was about 1 meter or 2 meters around the chapel. This professor from Holland, Professor Rookmark, visited that hostel. And he was greatly impressed because I wrote a small pamphlet explaining the African concept of creation. And he read it and asked the warden, who painted this thing? And he told him my name. So they called me. So this professor said to me, do you mind? Because he was a Christian. And at that time also I was a Christian. So he said, do you mind coming to Holland and take art history? My professor had communicated to me that it was possible I should add my art of painting art history. But this was a chance on the plate. So I told Professor Rookmark, I'm open to come to the Free University of Amsterdam. That's where I went at the end of '67, and I was in Amsterdam, Holland, to take a doctorate studies leading to a PhD. And to do my research, I came to Makerere University as a senior lecturer, and was still working on my PhD, which I completed in 73. So I was at Makerere teaching, and it came to Idi Amin that this young fellow to whom you had given an opportunity to go to Sandhurst is now in Uganda, and is preaching. Yet is a preacher, and there's a big attendance of people at Shibuye. So 3 soldiers, they were not in uniform. They came to the church. 3 of them. These are people from the Special Research Bureau. And they entered the vestry where I was preparing to go and preach. And so when I saw them, one of them, they were very tall. They are Nubians. And one of them said to me, we have sent here to kill you, because you were a very disobedient person. You may be a spy. You refuse to hear to follow the orders of the president. So I was really shaking. When this tall man said to me, we are here to kill you. I had no answer, because something like acid went into my tongue. I couldn't open my mouth. But God helped me at that moment, gave me something to say to these people. I was quoting from Colossians chapter 3, that, you can kill me, but I am already a dead person. So this tall man, they already had their guns on the table. This tall man said, what do you mean by you are a dead man? I said, a Christian, we Christians, when we get saved, we die in Christ. So I'm already a dead man. You are dead? I took some time to explain. Then that tall man said to me, so I said, can I pray for you before you shoot? The tall man said, okay. Incidentally, they closed their eyes. And the tall man said, pray. So they closed their eyes, but I did not close my mind. I put my fingers on because I didn't want to die with my eyes closed. So I did like this. I prayed. And at the end, they have said, Amen. They were Nubians and they are Muslims. So this tall fellow said to me, do you have a car? I said, yes. Oh, is there anybody here with a car? I say, yeah, there are several people in the congregation. Say, please find somebody to drive your car home and you go back in another car. But if you're going to preach now, be very, very careful the words you say. And that fellow continued coming for the service.
That was the main plot twist in the story of the man that was later to become the Reverend Dr. Kefa Sempangi, an evangelist and a founding elder of the Presbyterian Church in Uganda. From a vagabond church, the Presbyterian Church has established footholds throughout the country. It has also set up a theological institute at a university level.
Of the institute entrusted to me, I dissolve the congregation of the 6th graduation ceremony of Westminster Christian Institute, Uganda, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Interestingly, being a born-again Christian did not make the Reverend cut his umbilical roots to his African traditions. Sempangi traces his roots to the times of Bemba, the infamous ruler of what was then the nucleus of modern Buganda. Sempangi is a Muganda from the Baganda ethnicity, whose current royal ruling dynasty is held by Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II. Buganda Kingdom is a conglomerate of clan systems. Sempangi is a Sabalangira, who is the head of princes, in his clan lineage, which traces its origins directly to Bemba. The patriarchy of this lineage is Kato Nantafumwa, whose palace is found at Lunyo in Entebbe. This is the oldest officially gazetted palace in Buganda Kingdom. Of all the political, religious, social, cultural forms which the Reverend Kefa Sempangi has morphed into, none has such profound significance for Uganda and Africa as his role in getting destitute children off the streets, offering them a home and an education. His engagement in this philanthropic activity, like most of his life story, starts in another incident of providence linked to Professor Rookmaker, a man who by chance discovered him in England and persuaded him to pursue his doctoral studies in the Netherlands. Once in the Netherlands, Professor Rookmaker's wife discovered him too. He became a disciple that would pioneer her philanthropic work on street children in Africa, which would start in Uganda. It is the fruit of this work that Kefa is referred to as Daddy and Granddaddy by a community whose demographic potential to influence socio-economic and political development of the country is high.
When I came back from America and from Moshi, I came back here as a deputy minister in the Ministry of Rehabilitation, Community Development, which is now Uganda. And this lady tried several times to come and see me at the Apollo Hotel. And one evening I heard people crying, no, a lady shouting my name at the gate, which was guarded by the soldiers from Tanzania. And this lady, one time as I came from Parliament, I heard my name, so I sent two of my escorts and said, oh, go and check. And when they came back, they told me that it was Nakafre. So I said, please bring the woman quickly. And when we go to the foyer where people sit, I suggested to her, do you mind that we go to my room? I used to live on the 13th floor. And we entered the lift, and somebody switched on and the lift started going up. This Italian, Cuban High Commissioner thought this was my mother. So he said to me, why is your mother sitting? So I said to Nakafe, why are you sitting down? And Nakafe said, why should I be on my legs when the aeroplane is moving up? So this Cuban High Commissioner said, your mother is very clever, very intelligent. Why don't you all sit down? Anyway, eventually we got to the 13th floor, and I got out, and Nakafel got out. And Nakafel got out to got to my room, opened this small linen, it was really dirty. And in that were 5 eggs. So Nakafel placed this egg in the palm of my hand and said, well, Kefa, I brought you a gift. But you see this egg, it is dirty, it is clumsy, it is dusty, and that's the way you people, you left us, the people you left behind. This lady helped me to go back to work with the children, because as a minister in the government with a big car and escorts, I didn't want to go really. I didn't want to go back to the same job of looking after street children. But this Nakafel, after that challenge, so I asked her, where are the children? Nora, Topista, and Namusisi. And she said, we are staying at the garbage pit in downtown. So I said, okay, following day I'm coming to see you. And following day at 4, I went with my escorts. I left them somewhere to go to that very spot where Nakafel told him. So when the children saw me, they came running. They are very, very happy, excited. I had a suit from America. By the time they finished greeting, it was really also very dusty. So the women in the market were saying to me, hey, mister, run away, those are bayai. So I said to Nakafel, what is this word? Nakafel said, I told you yesterday that we people you left behind, vulnerable people, we are now called miayu, because a bayai is the cat that has gone astray. I said that's to the people, to the public, that's what they call us. We are miayu, nothing but miayu. So that is those words really pulled me back to start working with homeless street children.
At 80, the Reverend Dr. Sempangi has settled into more earthly things to get by in the capricious jungle of the third world economy. His wife Olivia is in control of this latter-day life. Once again, the Lord has not forsaken Kefa, as Olivia has demonstrated remarkable competence in managing his life and business affairs. This brings to pass the biblical saying that he who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Olivia Sempangi zalibwa Kyabazaala ow'omugenzi Bildad Muwonge. Era omwami oyo yali mukwano nnyo gwa mwami wange, mwami Sempangi. They were very great friends. Era gye namumiitinga yajjanga ewaffe on political basis. Ne politics nga bwe tumuzza wali nga mukwano gwa family yange nnyo, era nga mukwano gwa dadi wange nnyo. Dadi wange yali musajja wa UPC nfanfe, n'omwami wange yali musajja yali wa UPC nnyo, era bwe tutyo bwe twamiitinga. Olumu olulimi lubeera lutonzi, kubanga olumu bye twogera sometime bihappeninga. Era ekyo nkiraba, it's an example to me, kubanga bwe nali nkyali muto mwami Sempangi yanjagala nnyo ng'era bw'ajja ewaffe ng'agamba mukyala wange bisirikirwa mukazi wange mukyala wange aliwa. It was a joke. Sister wange omulala omuto bamuyita Esther ye nga bamuyita mukyala Obote era nga naye Obote bw'ajja ewaffe ng'abantu bagamba bannange mukyala Obote bbaawe wuunaze naye kwagamba nkyewuunya nti it happened mwami Sempangi netwemanyira awo bwe tutyo nanjagala nnyo era Mukama n'akikola kubanga twali ba friends ate nga taata wange mukwano gwe kyemmanyi wadde taata wange yafa naye ali happy kubanga mwana we yafumbirwa mukwano gwe ate n'abeera mu mikono emituufu. Ndi musanyufu nnyo olwa mwami Sempangi kubanga he has been there for me despite the age difference. Abadde mulungi nnyo, ali so loving, ali so caring, kwagamba antwalira ddala nga baby we era ddala ndi baby we. Mwami Sempangi mwagala nnyo era nkimanyi wessiri tasobola kubeerawo nange wessiri nange waatali nange sobola kubeerawo. Mwami Sempangi, congratulations on your 80th birthday. Nkwagala nnyo era nkimanyi Mukama agenda kwongera emyaka mingi kubanga gye tutambula yonna buli omu agamba no otulimba waliwo yaŋŋambye naye mwami Sempangi oyo atufera tanaweza 80 years naye ekyo kyonna kisa kya Katonda because alina omutima omulungi ate ayagaliza kwegamba age is just the number naye kyetutunuulira mu byonna nti omuntu alina omutima omulungi ate talabika myaka gye. So nebaza Mukama olw'okutukuuma mu bufumbo bwaffe buno. Katumaze emyaka 17 nga tuli married era tulina abaana 3. Muwala wange omukulu asomera USA, asomera Arizona, ali mu 8th grade kati. Mumisinze nnyo bambi obutabeera ku mukolo gwa daddy we, obutabeera ku mukolo guno naye nkimanyi nekyaliko ate kiri better kubanga okusoma kyekisinga. Second born wange naye ali mu senior 1 bamuyita Kefa Sempangi, oyo favorite ayagala nnyo taata we. Nina ne baby Jeremy Sempangi, Mukama atublessinze n'abaana 3. I'm happy Mukama bw'anampaayo abalongo ndi happy nja kubeebaza Mukama.
The people whom the Reverend served never forgot his good deeds, and in their humble way have attempted to return his generosity. At 80, the people he picked off the streets decided to honor his birthday.
Abaana abo bansanyukira nnyo ku mbaga yange bwe twagetinga married era babadde supportive nnyo. Ndowooza baalaba nti nze muntu omutuufu okubeera ne daddy waabwe, sibalinaako buzibu era tukolagana bulungi nnyo. N'omukolo guno batusupportinze nnyo era yali decision yaabwe okubeera nti tumukolera birthday. Nze nali njagala surprise, nali njagala mukolera surprise nga tamanyi naye ate ne baneesooka ate nakyo nenkyagala kubanga it was my dream n'okola omukolo omunene nga guno kwegamba kye nali nsinga okwagala.
Many of the children that I picked from the street came up with the suggestion that we celebrate my 80th birthday, and in those celebrations, which is a Thanksgiving to God, we should try to see that their home is being restored, and that they would use that opportunity also to see that they contribute money, at least to help one child from the street. So I liked the idea. It started as a small idea, but it went on getting bigger and bigger. So on the very occasion, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, sent a good message, which was delivered by his Vice President, Edward Kiwanuka II, and he sent a token of 10 million. He also requested the Minister of Water, Honorable Kibule, to see that I go and meet him. So we are actually making preparations to go and meet the President and particularly talk about the children's home being restored. It was a very colorful occasion. We had some ministers, some members of parliament. We had a turn-up of over 2,000 people. They came from Gulu, Mbale, Kapchorwa, Semuliki, Luwero, and especially those areas where we have the Presbyterian Church. They sent their representative. Those from Kayunga, where I had been a member of parliament, they just came to show that when I was a member of parliament, I served them well. And they came in good number. There are also people who came from Namatala. That's the area where I gave to the people of Namatala a square mile of land. So they came in appreciation. They brought some goats and chicken. We also served people, and I think everybody went away happy that they were being served. The proprietor of Hill Water gave us over 100 boxes of water. So everybody had something to drink and something to eat. Honorable Hajati Mukwaya gave me a cow. Honorable Kivule gave me a cow. And one young man who was in Africa Foundation, his mother now lives in England, also gave a cow. So there was plenty to eat. We also had the Bishop Emeritus Matovu, Bishop Bukenya Emeritus. They conducted the service. This is from the Anglican Church. And the service went on very well. So that was a big occasion. And now people got the message. Of course, the Children of Africa Foundation were there in a big number. And as we realized, some people, including myself, had to shed tears because of that lady who helped me to start Africa Foundation, because it was her misery and the story of our children that opened my eyes to the needs of homeless children and gave me the realization that people on the street could be poor, could be needy, vulnerable, but that doesn't stop them from having good brains.
The life and times of the Reverend defy that saying from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar that the good people do is often forgotten while the bad is remembered. In this case, his good has been acknowledged while he is still living. Men like Kefa Sempangi provide relief in a country that has produced Idi Amin and Kony.